Brooks Ashmanskas is one of the funniest guys in town, who has been given a dream role in the musical comedy, The Prom. He plays Barry Glickman, a Broadway leading man who finds his sweet side when he befriends a high school teen trying to bring her girlfriend to the prom. It's the latest in a long line of unforgettable parts for the stage favorite, who talks about making people laugh and keeping things dangerous on stage on this week's Show People. Oh, Brooks, I'm so happy you're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I feel like you don't do a lot of interviews. Is that fair to say?
I think that's fair to say. It's not that I'm against it. I think most people are like, well, who?
You have all sorts of secrets. You don't want people to know your secrets.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a very private person.
Well, I'm excited you're here, and I'm excited you're allowing me to interview you.
Absolutely.
And you look lovely.
Oh, thanks.
You look great. You're in the #1 show of 2018, according to Broadway.com, and we're into 2019. We still love it.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Are you having the time of your life? Because it looks like you are.
I am. It's a great group of people, which is the most important part. It's a great piece. I'm so glad people are responding to it in a positive way, because I really love it, and we've been working on it a long time.
Yes.
And it's thrilling to go to work every day. It's not like work, it's like recess.
I believe this is your first leading role?
Certainly on Broadway, yeah.
On Broadway. Yeah. Oh, I know. You've done all sorts of things.
Yeah, sure.
Around the country and up in the Berkshires.
Always.
Places like that. But this is actually an exciting opportunity for you.
Very exciting.
To play Barry Glickman.
Yes.
Who we love.
Yes, love Barry.
Barry Glickman is sort of like, I feel like he's someone that will follow you for the rest of your life.
I hope so. He's a great guy. I think he's so funny.
You can actually just keep playing him.
I basically do. I just a little lower volume sometimes in life.
Right. And Beth Level was here, and she talked about how, I think she said Dee Dee Allen was her, except she doesn't carry her Tony around with her.
Exactly.
So is it fair to say Barry is close to you?
Mm-hmm. Yes, very. We were fortunate enough to have the writers of the show, Bob Martin and Chad Biglin and Matt Sklar, really sort of form these roles around us and onto us and within us. And so, yes, it's very close to all of us with certain quirks that aren't ours, but, work for the show.
Yeah. But Barry, he's not a Tony winner.
No, Drama Desk winner.
Talk about inside joke.
Yeah, exactly.
But what I love about the show is that there are these great things for real theater people, but then it actually works for so many different people, right?
Yes, I think so. I think it's very universal. Yeah. Some of the humor, yes, is very, especially towards the front end, when we're still being very Broadway people, there's a lot of inside stuff. Yeah. But I think it's even inside in a way that people can understand what we're joking about or what we're satirizing,
That must have been something that had to be carefully balanced. And that's kind of what I know about the show is that you want something that's going to appeal to both audiences. And I know that even more recently, once the country turned Trump, I know that you actually had to be, because this is set in the Midwest, you are dealing with sort of some red-blue things here.
Yes, very much so.
That all had to be kind of very carefully figured out.
Yes, I think it was the hardest part for everyone involved, just to figure out the tone.
Yeah.
Because it is two different worlds, wildly different worlds, slamming into each other. And while that's a very old-fashioned, a lot of musicals have that, the Music Man, lots of things, big town people coming into middle America and sort of forcing their ways on people. But for this, it was much more delicate than even I thought it was. When we did it out of town, I remember we did it in Atlanta 2 years ago, and we had found most of it, but I feel like the front end of it still needed some finagling, and I think we figured it out, and the creative team beautifully sort of calibrated when to really go for it and when to just and then when it sort of starts to snowball in a beautiful way, the show, once you get in.
The original cast recording is out. It's fantastic. I listen to it a lot. You're in my ears a lot.
Oh, sorry.
Barry's Going to Prom.
Yes.
It's a I don't know what track number it is, but it's a track.
It's a track.
It's great. It's your big number.
Yes.
What is it like being tasked with, we're going to create a Casey Nicolau dance around you, Brooks Ashmanskas.
Right.
What was that like, and what was it like coming up with it? Because you have a delightful way of moving. You have a signature way of moving. I love it.
Lumbering, or is there a sadness and a neediness to it? Good.
It's pure joy for me.
When we put the number into the show, it was during one of the labs we did here in New York a while ago.
Yeah.
And the moment was always there And it used to not be a song, it just used to be a scene. It was very simple and a very lovely moment. So it was very balancy again.
Right.
And Casey and I had talked on a number of occasions, mostly Casey talking, saying, I think this needs to sing, and I think he's earned a song there. And I thought, okay, sure. And so Matt and Chad wrote the song very quickly. Because when they're in the pocket of writing, it's astonishing how quickly these guys write. And I think it was like a few days before we were going to present it, if I'm remembering correctly. It was certainly not long before we were presenting it. And Casey and I went into like the smaller room. I didn't know the lyrics yet. I was holding them. And basically we were just trying to figure out, okay, what does this guy do when he's alone in a hotel room?
Yeah.
And feeling celebratory.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? And so Casey was like, well, what would you do, Casey? And he would say, well, I would eat. I would go to the mini bar and like get some chips or something. And I was like, oh, I'm in. And then I was like, and probably a nice cocktail as well. So within it, not to give it away, but within it, there is that moment of just giving himself, feeding himself, and just, celebrating the moment. And I think it's a lovely balance, that song within the song.
Yeah.
It's obviously very joyful because he's gotten something he did not get when he was younger. And it's also, I think, very regretful and sad, and he kind of works his way to a very triumphant moment at the end. And I find I love doing it every night.
I have my own version that I do at home. And
Yes,
I'm sure
Paul's going to the prom
now, with singing along with you. I'm sure that's a thing now.
Do you get up on the bed?
Sure.
Yeah, that's
everywhere.
That's fun. That's good on the hamstrings.
You talk about sort of the balance of joy and that sadness. And I think that what I know about you and what you love about this role is that it does give you the opportunity.
Yes.
You're a very funny guy. You know how to make audiences laugh. And I feel like, if you talk about someone like Nathan Lane, who I know is a friend of yours, he is someone who has been given a lot of opportunities now to explore.
Yes.
He talked about being the clown and now Angels in America, and he has these sides to him. And I'm sure, and I know that you have some very touching moments in this show. You have one moment that just like I could start crying if I think about it. I won't.
It's
like
rough.
I never saw it.
Yeah.
That is exciting for you to get to show that to people.
Yes, I mean it's also, and not just from the actor's point of view and the sort of I want to show what I can do. It's really a pleasure to play a more fully realized human being. I think there's nothing wrong with being funny and making people laugh. I think that's there should be more of that.
Right.
And I'm pleased that sometimes people find me funny.
Yeah.
But I love that anything you can find in a really wacky, crazy, wild character, if you can find one moment of just a little humanity, it makes all the funny stuff even funnier and also deeper on the other end. And this part really offers quite a few opportunities for that.
Right.
It's lovely.
And I know everyone asks you, but you did go to prom.
I did.
Yeah, you were
Yeah, I
popular.
went to like both my junior and senior prom with friends.
Because you were probably like super popular.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Who'd
but
you go with?
I went
Do you
in
remember
my.
their names?
I do. My junior prom was with my friend Kelly Jones, and she's a great pal of mine. Beautiful blonde. She was the most beautiful, and I wore like a dinner jacket and tried to look like James Bond, and didn't. And I was like emaciated, thin. It was really pretty. That was years ago. And senior prom with my friend Valerie Klein, who we were like in a show together.
Okay.
And she was like, should we go to them? I was like, yeah.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break.
Oh, great.
We'll be back with more of the elusive Brooks Ashmanskas. Are back with the delightful Brooks Ashmanskas, the delightfully elusive Brooks Ashmanskas.
Yes, thank you.
Let's talk about your name. People love talking about it, right?
Really?
I mean, it's a crazy name.
It's it's a nightmare.
Is it true that Mel Brooks called it disgusting?
What did he say?
Quote?
I went into audition. I think it was for the producers way back when.
Right,
and
which you were in.
Yeah, he was. And he, literally, before we even said anything, he was like, your name. I love the first name. The last name is disgusting. And he's right. He's absolutely right.
He's right.
Yeah.
But it's a real name. You didn't make that up.
Oh no, God! Why would anyone? Yes.
Was there a moment of changing it? Was there a thought of it, or it's just like, this is who I am?
It was brought up to me when I first was meeting with an agent who I am still with after all these years.
Oh.
But he wasn't mean about it. He was just like, have you thought about maybe shortening it? Or I was like, no.
Like to what? Ash?
Well, I think he was thinking Ashman, which is...
Ashman.
But I was like, if I'm going to change it, I would make it into like Brooks Glitterati, or something fun.
Sure.
But it's my name.
I'm into it. So you're from Oregon, is that right?
Yes. My parents were from here. Mother was from Maine, Dad was from Boston, and then they sort of came to New York. He went to law school here.
East Coasters. But
yes.
They ended up
so
there.
I think my mom has just had it with New York and said, we're moving to, and he got a job out there, and I was born out there.
Oh, wow.
And just outside of Portland, I grew up. Beaverton, Oregon.
Okay.
And I went to Beaverton High School.
Okay, sure.
And it was a great place to grow up because it was outside of a relatively large city and pretty, easygoing place and very lovely place.
And your dad took you to theater?
Yes, he did. He was, and both my parents were fans of the theater. And when I showed an interest at a very young age, they leapt on that. They were very supportive people. And we would take trips out here to see my grandparents lived out here. And so I saw a lot of
you
shows.
came to New York?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was very lucky.
You were very cosmopolitan.
Yeah, and and I think it's why I'm here, is that it was the only city I had been to a lot. And so when I graduated college, I was like, well, yeah, I think I want to go to New York. I like it there. I didn't even think about that would be a good place to do theater.
Right. I've heard you say that your family is very funny, that maybe you're actually the least funny, which is
I'm
shocking.
I think I'm certainly differently funny, but my father was wildly funny.
Is your father still with us?
No, both parents are passed away.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that.
They both died too young. That's always the case. But they were both funny. Mom was pretty direct, funny, and Dad was very dry, wildly smart people. And the dinner table, my brother's very funny, still funny. My sister's funny. And I was the youngest, so I would sit and sort of listen to them and try to
soak it in.
Figure out what my in was. And my in was probably the more like, bah! Loud, aggressive.
Right.
And
what did your parents do for a living?
My father was a federal judge.
Okay.
My mother was a teacher when I was younger. And then when I went to college, she opened up her own florist.
Really?
Yes. Sure. The Enchanted Florist with a friend of hers. And it was actually a big success, and she had always wanted to do it.
It's a great name.
Yes, I called her the Enchantress.
I love it.
But yeah, she did that for a long time.
Do you remember when you first were able to make people laugh and when you first felt the power of that or the joy from that?
At a young age. I can't remember exactly when, but I was young, probably 4 or 5 years old, and I remember because my family was so funny and their friends were funny, they had great groups of people that they were going like camping trips or whatever. And I can remember sitting around the campfire and I sort of took over the conversation with some bad impression or whatever I was doing and noticing what that was like.
So where'd you go to college?
Bennington College.
Okay, Bennington.
In Vermont.
And you studied?
I studied drama, acting.
Okay, so you knew you were on this path.
Yeah, I knew from a young age again that this is what I wanted to do.
And then you came right to New York when you were done?
Yes.
So what year was that?
91.
Were you ready to come to New York?
Yeah. I was pretty focused on what I wanted to do, but most of all, I wanted to live here and be with the people I dreamed they would be like, and they are. Like all of my friends and colleagues. It's better than I thought it would be, but it's pretty much how I thought it would be. And that's the kind of world I want to live in. A bunch of people who are creating and being funny and fun and eating and drinking and being merry.
And were you out at that point when you got to the city? Okay.
Always. I mean, I was out at a very young age, but I think I think it was like when I was heading to college or maybe going into high school. I think I sort of came out again to my parents.
That's impressive in the 80s, though.
I think my mom. I remember I came out to my parents when I was very young.
Wow.
And my father, being a judge, he had a stenographer who was gay, and he and his boyfriend would come over for dinner or whatever. And my mother, being the sweetest woman, would sit the 3 kids down and say, she did pretty well actually. She was like, they're like your father and I, they're just both men. So not bad. And my sister, who's the eldest, was like, I know. And my brother was probably like, okay, whatever. And I apparently said, oh, like me.
Oh, wow.
And I think my mother, being again funny and sweet, she was like, well, don't close any doors, Brooks. So I think around high school I had to come back and be like, I'm still,
Wow.
My parents were stunning people,
Fantastic.
So it was they made it very easy for me.
No wonder you're so such a lovely person.
No, that's
It's in your blood. So then, how did you get to Broadway? How long were you in New York? Were you struggling in New York? Did work start?
Little. I had the only job I had. I worked at Carnegie Hall selling tickets over the phone, Carnegie Charge, and I was not good at it.
Okay.
Just because I had to deal with
cold calling people.
No, they would call for
you.
tickets.
Okay. They came to you.
Exactly. And watch yourselves when you call someone for. Not that anybody does that anymore, but if you're dealing with a person who's giving you tickets, be nice.
Oh,
because
okay.
they can
People
be like,
weren't
well,
nice.
there's nothing. Pavarotti tickets are going to be in the balcony, honey.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
But it was a good job to have because they gave me like long lunches. There were a lot of singers there and things
Right,
like
and
that.
you were able to go
and I would go to
audition for
auditions
things.
and whatever. I even went and did a show like out of town for like a month or two and came back and the job was waiting for me. So that was good. I did that for about a year.
What do you consider your big break?
In a way, it was like three things. One was Paper Moon, the musical, at the Paper Mill Playhouse,
Yes,
which was heading
pre-Broadway.
Was heading to Broadway. Marquee was up and everything.
Yes, it was at the Marquee Theater.
And it did not make it in.
No.
At a very late notice on that, but oh well.
Sorry.
And so, but that was the first musical I did. I had done a lot of plays like off Broadway plays where I was playing the son who was dying of AIDS, and the early '90s.
Yeah.
And so it was the first musical, and people thought, oh, he can sing, fools.
Everyone in Milburn loved it.
Oh yes, it was big in Milburn. And then I got into Neil Simon's London Suite, which was a new Neil Simon play.
Yep. Off Broadway.
Off
Union
Broadway,
Square.
yes. And that was, it was a big deal because it was a Neil Simon play.
Yep.
Not the biggest hit in the world.
That was
but
the
it
first time I saw you.
Oh, really?
I didn't connect it until right now.
Wow.
That was
yes,
really the
I
first
was the
time
little
I saw you.
bellman of the hotel.
Oh yes, okay. I do remember.
It was like a little
bellman.
sort of
That was you.
physical comedy stuff. That was me. Yeah, very young.
And what was number 3?
And then probably Songs for a New World.
Yes.
Which brought. In New York, it brought a lot of people to that because of who was involved with Jason Robert Brown. Although he was not really known then,
Right.
the director was Daisy Prince, who was Hal Prince's daughter.
Right.
So it had a lot of energy. They're still my best friends
Right.
in New York,
Right.
And
then you got to Broadway.
And then right after that, I replaced into How to Succeed in Business.
And you replaced another great last name.
Jeff Blumenkrantz.
Yeah. From Blumenkrantz to Ashmanskas.
Yes, exactly.
And then the whole career. Then the 14
And
show
then it
career
just started rolling.
just started rolling. Okay, we're going to take another break.
Yes.
And then we're going to come back with more Brooks Ashmanskas. We are back with Brooks Ashmanskas. Okay, so 14 shows.
Yes.
Do you feel like a great man of the Broadway stage?
Oh, no, God,
comfortable?
no. I certainly don't feel like a man. No, but I don't. I feel very fortunate, honestly. I've been very lucky. There's no reason why I should, have 14 Broadway shows, and there are millions of people who can do the kinds of things that I do. But I'm lucky.
I want to play a little game because you have so many interesting roles, and I kind of want you to sort of like pick out some highlights for me in different ways. So I want to start with the most obvious question: which of your Broadway roles? Let's forget Williamstown.
Yeah.
No offense, WTF.
Let's really.
We'll get
enough.
Which of your roles were you sexiest in?
That's a really good question.
I mean,
I
saw the Ritz.
The easy answer is all of them.
Oh, naturally.
Because what I do is I bring the sex first, and then I learn the lines. And by learn the lines, no. So yeah, maybe the Ritz. Yeah, but that's pretty shocking. I was not young.
I mean, I saw you near naked.
Yes, little underpants.
Yeah,
and a kimono.
Yes, I remember. Actually, if you Google it, you'll see it still.
God.
Those photos haunt you?
No.
The curtain call photos?
I guess they will now. Yeah, and just the stomach, it's like, it was very, very sweet of William Ivy Long who designed that, to put me in that.
You look great.
Yeah, I look terrific.
And very sexy. So
Yeah, wildly
congratulations.
sexy. Yeah.
Wildly sexy. Brooks Ashmanskas.
Yeah.
Which role do you think you feel like the best? Did you feel like...
You know, I had, in Promises, I had great suits.
I love that revival.
There was one suit in particular that was just like, oh, it fit perfectly. I felt like I looked like a man, and that was good. Present Laughter, Jane Greenwood did these.
Yes.
Those were period, of course, but those are cute costumes,
When you say look like a man,
well, like a grown-up, like a real, look at what I'm wearing.
Multiple references to the grown-up thing. So is it that like when you're an actor, you don't really feel like you're like one of those? Do you
That's not
think
who
of yourself?
I don't
What do you
think of myself
yourself
as being, like the guy in the suit who goes to work or whatever.
Right.
Because this is what I wear.
Well, I like it.
It's really pretty. But no, I don't. I like to dress up. I like to put a suit on, for openings.
So the whole
things
time
like
you're wearing a suit, you feel like you're doing
an
you're
imposter.
Like dress up.
I'm an
It's like
imposter.
dress up. It's
Yeah.
not just like natural.
Right.
Like I wear all this all the time.
Right.
But for you, it's like dress up.
Yes.
Because your natural clothing, like what would you naturally be wearing at home watching TV?
Oh. Beaded. No, but like just like comfy little pajama bottoms, and something soft.
Okay.
But I mean, usually I'm in like khaki. I'm very waspy looking, preppy.
Yeah.
I've usually always been in like khaki pants and a shirt.
Sure. It works. Which role from Broadway could you do in your sleep?
None of them have been really simple. I will say that. Not to it's just that there was always a lot of like, the stuff I do has some energy to it usually.
That's true.
I would say that like doing my sleep, like Brother Jeremiah, because it was such a great, it was a small amount,
Right.
but it was gold.
You came on.
Just
late
you
in the
only had.
show.
Oh yeah, and I think I only had like.
Were you only in Act 2?
No, I was. It's funny you say that because in Act 1 I came in like once and then once at the end.
Okay, I forgot.
And it was like
I love that
5 lines, but of course the way
Right.
I was doing it took about 4.5 hours to do
Right.
the 5 lines.
Right.
And then in Act 2 I had a little.
Okay,
more.
so it wasn't as. Which role would you like to do again?
I've only had the opportunity once to play the same part, same production, a couple of different casting things, like years apart.
What was that?
That's not true. Twice I've done that. And was She Stoops to Conquer,
Okay.
which is an old play.
Yes.
And the part of Toby, who's the son, it's a really fun part. I was much too old to play it, both times. And so that was interesting to do. It was interesting to do it again. Same with Present Laughter on Broadway. We had done it in Boston before with Victor Garber. And that it enriched things, I think. But I don't know if I'd want to play anything again. I like to go forward. Right now, I like playing Barry Glickman in The Prom.
People just love you. Other actors adore you. People who work with you talk very fondly of you. From what I hear, you like to make your co-stars laugh and have a good time.
Yes.
Helena York was here, and she said that every night she walked on for Bullets Over Broadway for her big number, Let's Misbehave. She was so looking forward to you making her giggle.
Right.
This is something you like to do.
Yes, it's important to me.
It's important
to do. It's a necessity.
Okay.
For me.
So
especially in the rehearsal process, but also in the performing.
This is part of it. You have to sort of keep it alive.
Yeah, and sort of dangerous, I think.
Keep it dangerous.
Is a darker way of putting it. But I think it's fun to be, you're not sure in oneself, not sure where you're going.
Because sometimes I assume maybe you're opposite people who don't like that danger. Is
sometimes.
Sometimes.
So you're trying to make it
really
fun.
Play with.
So the danger part of it is fun, not frightening.
Right.
That's the goal,
Yeah. Well, it's live theater.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of
Otherwise,
what's it for?
Yeah. It's a little
What do you want to be
snoozy.
when you grow up? What's the dream?
The dream, I'd like to own a nice bed or breakfast.
Oh, okay. Bed or, you don't get both.
Somewhere, up in Maine, in New England somewhere, and like grow tomatoes and, be
You could
away.
see that? You could see that
I don't
happening?
think I could do that. I could do it like a couple days a week.
Yeah.
And then come back. I'd like to find that now as I get older,
A balance.
a balance.
Between the
I'd love to be a
showbiz.
chef, but I wouldn't want that stress. So I'd like to be a better cook in life. I'm a relatively good cook, but I like that. That's very therapeutic. And the city can become very extreme, and it's important to get out, even for a weekend. You come back and the city is a great place to be, and work is a great place to go, and
Absolutely.
you got to keep that balance.
Yeah, so the Prom is a big hit. It's at the Longacre Theater.
Yes.
You are delightful in it.
Thank you.
I want to keep spending more time with Barry Glickman.
Me too.
It'd be fun to carry Barry on, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Fun if it was like a TV show, like an Amazon
Just where
series.
they keep going to save the day and ruin it at the same
Yeah,
time.
or Barry and Dee Dee.
Right.
Or they open a bed and breakfast.
That's a great idea.
Right?
That's wonderful.
Wait a minute. That's
Talk
actually
about
a wonderful,
being out of
wait
place.
Wait a minute.
We
I'm
got to
just
get
gonna
the
change
writers
names
on
and
that.
write it myself.
Exactly.
But I'll cast you and Beth Level.
Oh, great. Terrific. I'm in. It's a
Brooks,
yes.
Thank you so much for coming
Thank
by.
you.
You're a delight, and honestly, you're one of those people that genuinely make Broadway more fun and more delightful. And whenever you're in a show, you bring such joy to
Thank
so
you.
many people.
That's very nice of you. Thanks.
So I want you to win a Tony Award, among other things. I just want to keep seeing you do things.
Thank you, Paul.
And I maybe want to stay at your bed and breakfast at a slight discount.
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much, Brooks Ashmanskas.
Yes, perfect.
Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.